calling it quits when you have children involved is never easy. It's complicated. Birthdays, holidays, and trying to move on to new relationships. I mean, here was something interesting. This week, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck may have revealed they have it figured out. The couple recently divorced, but they're taking co-parenting to a new level. In fact, Ben has even offered to play matchmaker for his ex-wife. Now, that may not be ideal for most people, but there are some things you can do to play nice with your ex when you have children. Joining me to discuss is psychotherapist Robi Ludwig. I gotta say, is this just celebrity stuff like conscious uncoupling? I mean, how realistic is it that real life couples would do this?
Well, I've actually heard of it happening. So I've heard of exes trying to match up their ex with someone else. So it's not as uncommon as one would think. And I think it's generally the person who has left the partner and feels a little bit guilty and wants to see their ex be happy. And that just makes the relationship feel better when they have to interact with them. And I guess after a while, if you get to a certain point, you really can see the ex as more of a friend if you've done some of the grief work.
Well, that's a good point, because you have to spend time with them. You have children. Other breakups are like, bye, I never have to see you again. So what are some key things to remember post-breakup when kids are involved?
Well, I think the most important thing is you want to think about your child and co-parenting in a healthy way, because ultimately that's your job as a parent. You need to raise your child in order to be happy and healthy. And part of that means parents getting along for the sake of their kids. And when I've spoken to parents who have divorced, they say the biggest thing they have to keep in mind is to keep their ego in check, because it's normal and natural to want to be the favored parent, to want to be right. But when it comes to raising healthy kids, you really need to give them a sense that the parents like each other enough, because they are a product of two parents, these two parents.
Absolutely. You know, but you got to wonder, do you have to break up with everyone? You have friends, family of your exes that you may have become very close with. So what are the rules?
Well, the rules are you can create them as you go along. Listen, there may be some friendships that get lost along the way, and probably your ex's best friends are going to take sides. Having said that, though, it's very important, if you want to share friends, not to get them in the middle of all the muck. You want to help them figure out how they can stay friends with you, which might mean agreeing not to take sides, agreeing perhaps not to go out with new partners once they enter into the mix, or how to handle future joint parties. So it's basically setting up new rules for these friends so they know how to be a good friend for you and show up.
Why do you think people lose sight of their children in all of this? They get so focused on the anger they may have toward their ex that the kids suffer.
Well, I think you said it. It's the anger, and there is this natural tendency to want to demonize the ex-partner who was a disappointment, or maybe there's residual bitterness, and so there's a tendency to want to get kids to take sides, to want them to hate the parent that you're angry with. But that's where really counseling comes into play, because when a parent or an ex can tap into their most mature self, they can share that anger in a place where it's safe and not get their children involved, because kids really do want to love both their parents and are healthier when they are allowed to do so.
And always important to remember, kids didn't choose this. And that is so important for so many folks out there. Dr. Robi Ludwig, as always, great to see you. Thank you so much.
So great to see you. Thanks for having me.